Hello, children. How are you? Good, good, excellent. So, today we want to talk about some areas of the world and some animals of the world that are not close to our home, that are very extreme, very far away, and really, really different from us. Okay, we are going to talk about the wild islands areas of the world. Okay, so let's start with the word tundra. Tundra. What is a tundra? A tundra is a piece of land where there are no trees. Why are there no trees? Are there no trees? Because it's very, very cold, and the soil is frozen most of the time. In winter, there is cover in ice and snow, and it's really, really difficult to find in plants. So this is a picture for summer, maybe, yeah. So you can see there are short plants, but they are not trees. And it's really, really cold, like minus 30 degrees. Okay. Well, but in these areas, there are also there are also animals. Yes, yes, yes. There are animals of the tundra. Here we have a few. And look, what do they have in common? Can you see something in common from all these animals? Yes, they are all white. And why do you think they are all white? Yeah, because, yes, of course, because in winter and most part of the year, the land is covered with ice and snow, and the color of these elements is white, of course. So to camouflage themselves from the predators and from the other animals, they have developed white fur, sometimes white skin and white feathers, and so on. Very good, very very clever. Okay, we have another interesting element from the icy areas in the north and in the south pole. We find these big masses of ice, sweet water, made of sweet water, of course, floating on the ocean. Yeah, called icebergs. Yeah, maybe you remember a very famous iceberg that crashed. Well, the Titanic crashed with a very famous iceberg, and then it sank. Yeah, yeah. Well, icebergs float in the ocean, but they're not salty water. They are made of sweet water, and they are chunks of ice from the glaciers. Yeah, when the glaciers get warm, they break up into big chunks of ice and they go into the water and they float. And well, it is very dangerous for the ships, yeah, to find an iceberg. Well, what is the most important thing of an interesting thing of an iceberg? Well, the iceberg that you can see, the part of the iceberg that you can see, is a very small part. Yeah. Let me show you an example. Whoops. Whoa. What is this? Well, this is an iceberg. But this is what you can see from an iceberg, from the iceberg, from a boat, from a ship, yeah? When you're floating, navigating, you can see this part of the iceberg. But, well, do you think it's big? Wait a minute. Look at that. Yeah? Whoa. It's just a little tip of the big, big mass of ice that lays on the water. So that is dangerous because if a ship comes navigating this way and they think that the iceberg starts here, oh, they're wrong. Because look, it gets bigger under the water and you can, cross with it easily because you don't know the size of it. Then we have another very interesting element on the north and in the south pole. They call aurora. Aurora borealis if it's in the north, and aurora australis if it's in the south. So also called northern lights, but of course if they are in the north pole. The lights that you can see on the sky at night are collisions, crushing, yeah, particles of electricity that come from the sun. Yeah, so They are all these lines, all these curves are made of lights that are generated because they're crushing particles, okay, on the air. Excellent. On planet Earth, all the areas of ice are in both poles. We've mentioned North and South Pole. But what are the differences between these two? Well, look at these pictures. Well, there is a big difference, obvious difference, yeah? The size of them. Look at the South Pole. It is bigger than the North Pole, yeah? There is a lot more ice in the South Pole than in the North Pole. Look at the size, yeah? More differences. For example, in the North Pole, do you think it's cold? Don't you? Yes. When you imagine Santa and his house and the reindeers, oh, you picture the image with a lot of snow and it's really cold. Yeah, maybe it's minus 30 degrees. Yeah, okay, it's cold. Yeah. But what about the South Pole, where the penguins live? Well, in the South Pole, it's even colder. It's minus 25 only in summer. It could be minus 80 degrees. Minus 80 degrees. So that is cold, don't you think? Yeah. Well, another difference. In the North Pole live the polar bears. Yeah, these beautiful animals. Very big. Yeah. But in the South Pole live the penguins. So when you see penguins, pictures of penguins, drawing pictures of penguins in the North Pole, wow. Those are wrong pictures because the penguins only live in the south hemisphere. Yeah? And the same thing with the polar bears. You cannot draw a polar bear in the South Pole because they only live in the North Pole. Okay? Good. Another difference, well, more differences, in fact. The North Pole, the ice is on top of the water, the ocean. So there is no land under the ice. The ice is not so thick. So if you want to make a hole, it wouldn't take you so long. There are more animals and plants than in the South Pole. Yeah, it is weird because there is no land and there are plants and more animals in the North Pole. That is weird, but that is not so weird if you remember that in the South Pole is so cold that it's very difficult to find life, yeah? Because sometimes it's minus 70, minus 80 degrees. Ooh, can you live there? Ooh, I don't think so. Well, in the South Pole, the ice is on top of the land. Yes, because, land. Because Antarctica is a continent. Yeah, it has land under the ice. But also the ice layer is very thick. It's thicker than in the North Pole. And also you can find mountains too, because it's a continent, yeah. Alrighty. Let's see about the life on both poles, the animals. Let's start with the animals. Well, what type of animals live on the icy areas? Do you think we can find reptiles, birds, mammals, fish? Well, let's find out. Well, yeah, there are some birds, yeah. Well, more birds than here, but we gather these four kinds of birds. The white owl, which is really white and beautiful, yeah. The puffin that lives also in the continent, in Europe, in the north areas. The seagulls, yeah, and the penguin that, remember, only live in the South Pole. But what happened? What is the difference between the penguins and the other three birds that you can see here? Yes, that's right. Penguins cannot fly like the seagull, puffin or white owl because they don't have wings. They have flippers, yeah, because they are aquatic animals too. They live in the water most of the time. They love swimming. Well, these birds that we have seen, they eat other animals, so that's why we call them carnivores. Like this Arctic owl, do you see? It's gonna catch this little lemming. Lemmings are mammals that live in the North Pole, well, in the north area, yeah, the tundra, and they are like mice. They look like, yeah. Okay, so fish also eat other fish or squid and krill, and the same with the squid. Squids also eat other fish, little fish, and krill. So they're carnivores. They eat animals. They eat each other. Sorry. And then we have more aquatic animals. Yeah. Well, we've seen the squid, but what about the killer whale? The killer whale lives in both poles. We can find in both oceans, in the Southern Ocean and in the Arctic Ocean, killer whales. Yeah, they're dangerous animals. Krill are everywhere. Fish are everywhere too. And then we have the beluga whale. That it seems like a dolphin, and a part dolphin, part whale, and it's really white. It's beautiful. Well, the beluga whale lives only in the north areas, yeah, not in the South Pole. Same happens with the narwhal whale. The narwhal whale lives in the north areas, and he has like a big horn or tusk, yeah. It's like the unicorn of the sea. It's called the unicorn of the seas. Well, we have the seal, and well, we can find seals in both areas, in the North Pole, in the South Pole. And then we have their cousins, the walruses. Walrus is bigger than the seal, and it have tusks, yeah? So you can differentiate easily both animals. Well, let's see in a food chain of an aquatic animal, because they are also carnivores, remember? Well, let's start with the bigger one. Yeah, the killer whale eats seal. They love seal, poor thing. And the seals love fish, yeah? And fish love squid too, and other little animals. And some big squid eat small fish, and some small fish eat krill. So this could be easily a food chain of the aquatic animals on the North Pole. Yeah? Good. Let's see other animals, other type of animals. We've seen aquatic, we've seen birds. Now we're talking about mammals. What kind of mammals can we find on the icy areas? Well, the Arctic wolf, yeah, and the Arctic fox too. They have a lot of fur, strong fur to protect themselves from the cold, and they're white mainly. The polar bear, the mighty big polar bear that loves eating seals too. The Arctic hare found in tundras. Yeah. The Canadian lynx, well, found in north parts of Canada. The seals, beluga whales, lemmings, and walrus. Okay, they are all mammals. And why are they mammals? Why they are called mammals, sorry? Because they are born alive from the mother's wombs, and because they drink the mother's milk, yeah, at the beginning of the life. They are mammals. Then we have some herbivores on the tundras, yeah, like the little lemmings that love eating seeds and plants when they can find them, yeah. Also, the Arctic hare is remember? The Arctic hare is a herbivore, sorry. What do you think there are so little number of herbivores animals on the icy areas? We've seen a lot of carnivores, yeah? Oof, most of them are carnivores. But why are there so little herbivores? Well, what do you think? Easy, because there's very little food for them in those areas. There are very small number of plants they can find to eat. So that's why. But how can these animals live in the icy areas with temperatures as low as -30 in the north and -70 or so in the south? Ooh, I find it difficult, yeah. Well, for example, through this thick skin and fur and fur. Sorry. Polar bears have a very thick layer of skin and fur. Look, let's have a look at these poor thing. These poor animals are dead, and these are only the skin and the fur. Look at the skin. The skin is black. Did you know that? Wow, yes. They look white. The polar bears, they look very white. But under the fur, under the white fur, they have a very thick black skin. Yes, amazing. And why do you think it is black? Well, because black attracts the sun, the heat, better than the other color. Yeah, so they have black areas between the fur to attract to get more sun when it's sunny. So they are warm. Yeah, and well, on top of the thick skin of some 11 centimeters sometimes, you can find the fur, the white fur, which is really, really, very good to keep you warm. Okay, let's see another animal like the seals. Seals also have fur. This is a beautiful fur layer, but also under that they have a layer called blubber. It's made of fat. Yes, animals like polar bears, they love blubber, and Eskimos also, they love the blubber. Look at this. This picture is the blubber. Look how thick is it. It's huge, isn't it? Well, this is a layer for protection from the cold. So when they get into the water, they don't feel so cold. And how do they fish? Do the fish protect themselves from the water, from the cold water? Sorry. Well, with the scales, yeah. Fish have scales. What about the birds? The birds that can be living in the North Pole and in the South Pole, they protect themselves from the very extreme cold through the feathers. Okay, so the feathers work as a central heating system. Yes, they do, because the penguins and other birds hollow up the feathers, yeah, and in between the feathers they keep the air, and the air gets warm, and so yeah, under the feathers there is a layer of warm air that works like a central heating. Very clever, very clever. In the North Pole we can find also people, and they're being called Eskimos. But some Eskimos don't like these words. In Canada they're called Inuit. Inuit in Canada, yeah, Inuit. There's a tribe. And in Siberian they're called Yupiks or Yuits. Yeah, Siberian Yupiks or Yuits. But, well, there are people who live in the North Pole or in the tundra, and they build igloos for houses, and they wear skins from animals to protect themselves. Like this little boy, well, is wearing a lot of fur from maybe a polar bear, yeah, or another animal. Well, look at this man. He's wearing a lot of fur all over, even on the feet, because be careful with the feet. They can get frozen easily if they are not well protected. Well, this is the house called igloo. They make them small, and they make like a little door in it, and they can sleep, and even light some fire in it. Yeah, good. Well, that's it from the North and South Pole living things, mainly animals, but some people too. I hope you like it. See you later. Bye bye.